Governor Evers, thank you very much for making time for us. Let's talk about the budget. And one of the things you've put money in for is to fix the unemployment system, about $80 million. Will this get the job done to make it the most efficient unemployment system in the country or state?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be done. We're looking forward to having a system that we can count on. It's unfortunate that we got in the position we did with a system that was inadequate, but we need to do it, and I'm looking forward to the day that we have completed that process. It'll take a couple of years, and my guess is to make this happen. But we need to get started. That's the main thing. I mean,
there is an option, kind of an antiquated law dating back to the 1940s. Did you see this? It's like 0.02% where you could do something to correct it without going to the budget. Did you look at that option at all?
Yeah, we did. We had all the legal eagles in our world taking a look at that and felt that it wasn't applicable. But all that aside, we're going to get there, whether it's with federal money, state money, even if we go out with a tin can or a cup on the streets, we have to do it. I mean, I'm not concerned about the process anymore. I just want to get the product done.
Talking about that, how big of a complaint is this at your office in terms of emails, calls, people upset that they're still waiting for benefits months later?
Yeah, it has decreased a lot because we've gotten rid of the backlog, but there still are some, and with the most recent change signed by President Trump back at the end of the calendar year, we're still developing that process, that program. Every time they make a change, we have to go in and make a change in the program. We're almost there, so we'll get there. But yes, it's a system that all states are going through this, and it's ugly, and it shouldn't have happened this way. But we look forward to having a new system. But yeah, during the throes of the worst part of the pandemic, where we are getting hundreds of thousands of claims a day, the system just couldn't keep up, and we did the best we could under the circumstances, which wasn't good enough. I mean, there's no question about that. You don't want people to be going without the payments that they're deserved. But we were at a place actually in December, before they changed it again, that the backlog had been taken care of, and the rest of it was an adjudication, which means it's an appeal. They were turned down, and it was an appeal. And so we work hard to get to yes, and that takes people power, and that takes a little more time. But the light is at the end of the tunnel, Charles.
One final question on that, though. When you look back on the year of 2020 in this particular lane, do you think in hindsight there was anything you could have done differently?
Well, yes, if I had been a sage and knew in early March that we were going to have a pandemic and all these people are going to be thrown out of their jobs. If I anticipated that, we might have been able to do something quickly to put some patches on the system. But once we are in that position, we try to communicate as well as we can. Do I feel badly that it happened? Absolutely. Do I think that there could have been some forethought that would have created a better system up front? I think that's probably unlikely. And I don't want to spend any time going back to the fact that the Audit Bureau 10 years ago or whatever said fix the system. I don't want to put any blame out there. We had lots of people that didn't get the service they deserved. I apologize for that. And we're going to move forward and get to a place where that doesn't happen again.
Let's talk about the budget for schools. You want to add another $1.6 billion over 2 years. How much of that will be to address the post-pandemic and COVID-related costs that schools endured?
To some extent, but it's also, yes. I mean, there's no question that schools had additional costs because of the pandemic. Some of it has been rectified by the federal government's help. But, even pre-pandemic, 4 years ago, our speaker had a blue ribbon commission that said school funding should be 2/3. So we're following up on his recommendation. I hope him and his caucus feel the same way now that they did then. but some of it's pandemic related, but some of it's just where we should be as a state. It's not some goal out there that we pretend that's important. It is important.
Starting March 1st, teachers will move into the prioritizing lane to get the vaccine shots. And do you think then by April 1st, all schools should be able to open 5 days a week if the teachers are fully vaccinated?
Well, and that's a big if. I mean, clearly we're at the mercy of the number of vaccines that we have. But that said, the CDC has made it very clear that that teachers don't have to be vaccinated in order to open up school. Many schools in the state have been open since day one and continue to be open to this day. And we also know that kids are not huge transmitters of the disease. In fact, it's very minimal transmission from kids. That said, right from the beginning, I've left this up to be a local decision, and I'll continue to do that. Because the ability to mitigate depends on the school building and the size of the building and all those other things that have to be taken care of locally. So do I anticipate that there's going to be some movement in that direction to open up schools? Yes. Are we going to do the best we can if we have the vaccines to vaccinate teachers and others that interact directly with students? Absolutely. Is that going to happen by April 1st? I can't promise that. I mean, there's just no way I can. I had a chance to talk to President Biden about that the other day. He's confident that we can make some good progress in that area. But again, even the president is reliant on their ability to produce more in the two companies. And so we'll see. We made good progress on the people 65 and up, and continue to do that. And we'll prioritize teachers in the very near future, but there's a bunch of them, and we have a limited amount of supply.
The state now has crossed the 1 million threshold of people receiving the shot. You have received at least one shot. I know you're probably going to say that we still don't have enough, but what about the scale and the pace of making it more available?
Well, the federal government has made more available. There's no question about it. But it's all been contingent upon the production processes for Pfizer and Moderna being more sophisticated as they continue to crank these things out. And so we will continue to follow that. But there is, we've done all we can from the point of view of getting vaccines in people's arms. The most important thing that the Biden administration did was kind of guarantee blocks of time. The people that are requesting vaccines today have a 2-week window of guarantee. That is hugely important. They can make appointments based on that, and so on and so forth. So we've increased the number of vaccinators in the state, and we'll continue to do that, which when we do that of course means that not everybody is necessarily going to be getting the same amount they have in the past. But we have to make sure we're reaching out, getting to the people that need it the most, and that includes people of color and indigenous people and people that have suffered the most by this pandemic. That has to be a goal also.
I have 2 more questions for you. One of them is about Foxconn. I know you have been, and the state has been negotiating with Foxconn for another new agreement. Do you think you'll have a new agreement within 30 days?
Well, I'm hopeful. I know that WDC is working on it, and I receive occasional briefings on that. I know they're close to it, and we've said right from the beginning, all we have to do is right-size this thing and reflect the reality of what is possible. So
what does that look like?
I'm hopeful, but I don't know if 30 days is a good barometer.
What does right sizing look like to you?
Well, it means that right now we're paying them if they were meeting the requirements, paying them a lot of money for something that's just not happening, and there's no 10.5 Foxconn company going to be in Wisconsin anytime. And so right sizing means being as specific as we can as to what they're going to produce, as specific as they can about what type of people and the number of them, so that we're not paying for people that aren't ever going to work there. So it's critical to right size it. I think they're getting very close.
I got to ask you about President Biden. You mentioned him earlier in our conversation, but I also noticed you got to ride in the Beast. You got to go from the town hall to the airport. What was that like? What did you talk about?
Oh, it was a great conversation. We talked about vaccines. We talked about and we talked about other issues that related to the pandemic, and we talked about grandkids. And we had a great conversation. And actually, as we pulled up to the plane, the president said to me, "Well, would you like to see Air Force One?" And I said, "Heck yes." And so we went in Air Force One. He gave me a tour of the entire plane, which is a breathtaking moment, frankly. But it was just a good conversation. He's a down-to-earth person, and he and I have a good working relationship in the past, and continue to do that in the future.
Governor Evers, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charles. Take care.